Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to the face and the card making space, and more Halloween cards, as is signaled by the backlight. Pretty Pink Posh again. I will link to the previous video I did using some of the new Pretty Pink Posh Halloween release because, like I said in that video, this release was so many good things. Not enough hours in the day. Super, super cute. Love. So I made several cards. Finally got a chance to make with the Spooky Mug Editions die set. As of filming this intro, I think the die set is currently sold out. They will restock it as soon as possible. The Mug Editions, if you are new, way back. This was couple years ago. I forget when this set came out. The little winter mug die set. This came out, yeah, it was like a couple years ago, and I remember purchasing it, and I didn't get a chance to use it when it first came out. And then she started doing additions. I will link, I'll have it in my blog post, and then I might, depending on how many links I have, because you can only add so many things to a description box, I'll post it there, but it'll be definitely in my blog post. I have a list of all the additions because there have been lots of them over the last couple years. I will also have a link at the end of the video. I have a playlist of all the videos I've done using these additions because there's like grad and there was another Halloween one that came out last year. Christmas. It's like there's so many options. So many options. I love it. I love it. I've talked about this many times. I love when there is a base stamp set, die set, stencil set, whatever, and then a brand adds to it over time. So you've got more occasions, more uses, more ideas, all these sorts of things. And this one just is a favorite of mine. So I use the Spooky Mug Editions. I also use the Big Cupcake. Is that what it's called? Big Halloween Cupcake. They've been doing a few of these recently and they're super fun as well. And I kind of mixed and matched a bunch of the die cuts and then went very non-traditional with the colors. I like doing that with Halloween stuff. I love Halloween colors, black, orange, green, purple, the traditional in my mind, but I love going non-traditional. So I pulled just random colors from my stash and made it work. It was fun. And then I made a couple bonus cards because my brain was just going. So, as always, I will have links to all the things I used in the description box below the video. There will be a supply list, link to the blog post, etc. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you use one of my links, end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. It's what helps pay the bills, keep the channel going, etc. And yeah, let's get into making these cards. So when I say non-traditional colors, I meant it. I'm using Distress Oxide inks, and I have Tattered Rose, Spun Sugar, and Rusty Hinge. And I just put them into one of my little ink stand, or set up 3 ink stands just to hold the ink pads in place. And then I am blending these 3 colors onto panels of Simon Says Stamp Smooth White 120 pound cardstock, just using blending brushes. I'm just going to do a simple 3 color blend. And I started with the Spun Sugar, and then I'll go in with the Tattered Rose, and then I'm going to finish this off with the Rusty Hinge. And this color combo, it would just be pretty for anything, really. It's a pretty combo. I'm going to add green to it, but not on the backgrounds. That will be with the die cuts, plus of course black, gray, all the things. But first, the blend, which was super quick and simple. I did speed this up in editing, but blending with Oxide inks is kind of a no-brainer. They just blend. They blend like butter. It's really simple. So once I was done with the blends on these, I wiped off my work surface, and then I grabbed my Distress sprayer and held it quite high up, and I only pressed the nozzle like halfway, and that's how you get the nice splattery, splotchy spray versus like a mist. And then let that sit for a minute. Picked it up with my paper towel. Doesn't really show much on camera, but you get the water droplet effect because Oxide inks are water reactive. You can see it better there now that everything's dry. And then I stuck my backgrounds to a grip mat. And I'm using the Halloween Words stencil and stuck that on top onto my grip mat. And I'm using the Ranger Distress Texture Paste in black opaque. Love this stuff. If you want black paste, highly recommend this. I have shown in videos in the past, like making my own like tinting white paste with like distress paint, etc. It is a pain in the butt with black. You can tint your paste like any color you want, but trying to get it black is annoying to say the least, because it thins out the paste, and like a lot of times the color will leach out as it's drying, etc. Like, been there, done that. I was so glad when this was released, and I love it, especially for Halloween time, but it works for anything really. And I keep my paste sealed with press and seal. I'll have a link to that in the supplies, because press and seal is a little harder to get for people that aren't in North America. Those of us that are in North America, you can get it at your grocery store. But press and seal for the win, to keep your paste lasting a little bit longer. They don't last forever, so I recommend using them. As one of the products that it is not worth hoarding, because they will, even if they're factory sealed, they will dry out. Ask me how I know this. I have never added up how many containers of paste I have like had to discard because they were completely dried out. So press and seal for the win. And then the other thing, don't hoard your pastes. Use them. Just use them up, you know? So I applied the press and seal, and then applied the paste, sealed everything back up with the press and seal, removed the stencil. I use my fingers because I don't plan on trimming these down, to just remove any excess paste sticking out past the edges. You could also just let it dry and just snip them off with scissors, you know, if you're not planning on trimming this down, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me to get this on my fingers. So I just kind of remove that excess, set those aside to dry. My grip mat, I just clean with like a baby wipe and a little bit of water. That gets the paste off. If I'm using a really like, if there's like a ton of paste on it, I'll quickly rinse it off in the sink. Don't let your grip mats like soak in water. It's not good for them. It can wreck the photopolymer. But yeah, I just wipe it off. It's good to go. Cleaned my stencil, cleaned my palette knife, set all that aside. And then of course I'm going to add splatter, because what's a Halloween card without splatter? So I put these backgrounds into my splat box, black soot distress paint, put that on my little palette, got my little fan brush, and heavily splattered these backgrounds with the black soot distress paint. And just like the paste, this paint is potent. It is extremely pigmented. You need to immediately clean your brush as soon as you're done. Do not let it dry in your brush. You'll wreck your brush. So clean everything up, set it all aside. We're good to go. So while everything was drying, I did a ton of die cutting. I have off to the side, off camera, I've just got like trays of little die cuts, because I used multiple die sets to create these. The main one being, this is the big Halloween Cupcake die set, and it is super cute. And then I'm using the Spooky Mug Editions, the winter mug. I also used the little bats from the Ghost Holder die set that I used in the previous video for this release. And yeah, those are all the die sets I used. And they'll be listed and linked with the supplies. And I die cut them from various cardstocks. I'll have the cardstocks linked, everything but the really pale pinky sort of color. That one I've had for a really long time, and I do not have a source for that one. But everything else is listed and linked in the supplies. And then I'm using the exact same Oxide colors. Like I used the Spun Sugar, the Tattered Rose, the Rusty Hinge. For the greens, I pulled out Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn. And I was also using some Black Soot Oxide for the dark gray cardstock pieces. And I just would stick the die cuts to my grip mat and just add some ink with little blending brushes just to give them that little extra something. If you want more like definition, because like a lot of times that's why you do ink blending on like solid color cardstock die cuts and things, you could use like regular distress inks or just regular dye inks, because that's the thing with the oxides, is depending on the shade of the cardstock, they might not show up as much. So it just depends, but I was just adding it for the fun of it. The greens showed up nicely because I went in with that darker, like the Mowed Lawn. And even all these little bubbles that I die cut Like, 'cause I did a ton of die cutting. It was like just you kind of sit and zone out. That's literally what I did. I was just zoned right out, enjoying, what YouTube videos, Netflix, that sort of thing, and just die cut to my heart's content. And that's why I ended up with bonus cards, because while I was doing the die cutting, I was die cutting other pieces as well, and then ended up with enough for 2 more cards, which I'll show like later on in the video. So after I did my ink blending, I start assembling. So this cupcake, this is where I brought in the green, like that ooze, on top of it. Die cut that from the green and adhered it. And then those little worms, they're technically supposed to be, gummy worms. So if you did like different colors, they would look like that. But I made mine look more like real worms. just cause it was fun, So I just had fun assembling this, and reverse tweezers for the win. I was using them as like second and third hands to hold, die cuts in place to let the glue dry so I can work on other things. There's a little die set in this big Halloween cupcake that cuts pieces to make your own candy corn, which I loved. So while I was die cutting little scraps, with these pieces, and then they're super simple to assemble. So that's what I did, just grabbing the pieces at random, and then I end up with these little candy corns that, match the colors of these cards. Pieces like this, I didn't bother with any ink blending, anything. Not worth it in my opinion. That gets too finicky for me. So little pumpkins from the same set, the little cute little pumpkin stems, and there's a little circle on the base of the stem, so it makes it super easy to adhere it to the back of the little pumpkins. Love. The little fence piece is from the Spooky Mug Editions die set, because I'm gonna mix and match between both of these cards with all these just random wafer dies. And then that little corner web piece, that one is from, which die set is that from? Oh, it's from the big Halloween cupcake. So I die cut that as well. And same with that little scripty boo word. That's also from the big Halloween cupcake. And I die cut that from black cardstock. And then the top layer I had die cut from some black glitter cardstock, which doesn't show up very much like while filming, but at the end, like when I tilt it in the light, you can see it. So it just gives it that little extra something. And I stacked those together, because that's just tradition when it comes to die cut sentiments. Gotta build that little bit of definition. And then once I was kind of happy with like my main element, aka the cupcake, I'm going to adhere this to that card front panel that I had done at the beginning with just some thin foam squares. So that's going to pop it up a little bit, give everything a little bit of dimension. Plus it's going to enable me to like tuck things, kind of behind it, like this little fence piece that I had die cut. So once I got that adhered, I can start tucking in all of these other little elements, and using just a variety of liquid glue and foam squares, and just getting them in there, just building a cute little scene. And there's even a little bone wafer die in this Halloween cupcake die set. So same thing, just die cut a bunch of those. This is why I keep all my scraps. I talked about this before. I have tons of scraps and I use them all the time. Oh, I also used vellum, because there's a little ghost wafer die in this set, and there's a little ghost in the Spooky Mug Editions as well. And die cut a couple from vellum, and just creatively added adhesive where I could tuck it in and hide it, because glue shows through vellum. So that first one I like kind of adhered behind one that I die cut from white cardstock. Again, they don't show up much on camera, but in real life, they're super cute. And at the end, I'm going to add some little googly eyes, which makes them stand out a little bit more. So got all those adhered, and then all those little cardstock green bubbles that I had die cut, I just adhered as basically embellishments, just kind of floating up around the cupcake, and that kind of ties in the green a little bit more, so it's not just that one little bit of green. So got everything adhered my little sentiment. Those little bats, those are from the ghost holder die set. Die cut those from more black glitter cardstock, so it just adds that little extra something. And I just put glue right behind the body so that the wings pop up a bit. Again, gives it a little bit of dimension. So I set that aside, and then the second card front is using the Spooky Mug Editions, the cup itself, and the kind of oval piece for the liquid in the cup. That's from the winter mug, like the OG set. And same idea. After I die cut all the pieces, I stuck them to the grip mat, and I used the exact same ink colors because it was the same cardstock colors to add some, shading and whatnot. Those little wiggly die cuts, I think those are more meant for kind of like steam, that sort of a thing. But I was thinking worms still. Who knows? Worms in the brain. Who knows? So I just die cut them from the rusty and really pale pink cardstock and added just a little tiny bit of ink blending just because I could. That's the thing with, card making and whatever, really. It's however you want to interpret it. So for me, they were little wormies. They're just, they got added to the potion. So after I had done all my ink blending, I started assembling everything and stuck the liquid in my mug, and those two little suckers, I had adhered those together, stuck those in there, got my little wormy bits and stuck those on as well. And then once I have all of these in place, I can adhere the potion that's coming out of the top of the mug. So I'm going to get all that into place, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the cupcake and pop this up with just some thin foam squares. And then that way, same idea. I can build around it, tuck things in behind the mug, etc. So I've super sped this up with editing, but I just took my time with it. And the little ghosts in this set, same thing. I die cut them from vellum. And these ones can hold things. So there's these little tiny pumpkins. There's little tiny accessories you can die cut, which is super cute. But I was strategic with these because I die cut the little pumpkins and then stuck them into place. And that gives me a spot to add glue behind the pumpkin. So I can glue these wherever I want and you won't see any adhesive because I'll just hide it behind the little die cut pumpkin. So glued it into place on the little ghosts. So they're holding their little pumpkins, and then stuck the glue behind those pumpkins, and I can just press that down and they're fine. So you won't see any adhesive. So they're going to be floating like little ghosties. And then, I'll add little googly eyes to these later on, and it just finishes them off because you can't really see it on camera, but in real life, it does deboss little eyes and a little smiley face on all of these. It's just when it comes to vellum and cameras, they're just not friends for whatever reason, which is silly because vellum is amazing. I love vellum. So did the exact same thing. Adhered. I cut like tons of these little circles so that I could use them just as little embellishments. Although after I was done this, I was like, could have used like green pearls. That would have looked really fun too. But I was still happy with my cardstock ones. And then the spiders are from that same Spooky Mug Editions set, and same thing. They have like eyes and little mouths that are like debossed into them. You just can't see them on camera, but I'll enhance those as well. Added a few more of the little die cut bats to these scenes as well because it's just too cute not to. Same with the boo sentiment that I had stacked and used the black glare cardstock on. So got all of the elements adhered to build my card fronts. And then on the insides of my cards, I'm using the Upright Greetings Halloween stamp set. And this might be the first vertical greetings I've ever used. They've come out in different forms with different brands over the years. I'm not a fan of vertical greetings 99% of the time. I don't know. I just don't like how they look. I don't know what it is. But these ones are cute and they're small. So when I first saw them, I was like, maybe. But then I was like, no, wait, these are really cute. And I like that they're buildable. There's several little words that you can build into different phrases. So I put them onto my acrylic blocks and stamped them onto the insides of the cards with my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. My cards are just top folding A2 white note cards. And thanks to the stack of wafer dies I had die cut, I had all these extra little pieces, which was perfect to adhere to the insides of the cards. So I got my little ghosties and a little fence piece. I was using my magnet to hold things down. Again, anything that like basically creates an extra hand, so holds things in place to let the glue dry. Those little bones, stuck those, the little webs, little bats, all the fun things, but still leaving a good amount of space to write on the insides of the cards. And then I used up the last of the little candy corns that I had assembled. Just stuck those onto the inside as well. And then the last of my little die cut bubbles, like I used up everything between the outsides and insides of these cards. And then once the insides were done, I adhered the panels to the card bases, again, just using craft tacky glue. And then after I got those adhered, I took my Jelly Roll white gel pen and went around and added just highlights and little dots, little starbursts here and there, like just little elements to add just that extra bits of definition. So worked my way around, zero thought to like light sources or anything like that. I just stuck them wherever I thought they would look cute. So I did all of that. And then googly eyes. These are tiny. These are 3mm googly eyes. I've had these for a really long time. You could use larger ones, but I'm glad I had these ones because they were kind of perfect for these little guys. So I just used little dabs of craft tacky glue and then adhered googly eyes to all of my little ghosties. So cute. So cute. And then same thing on the other card. I'm going to adhere them to the ghosts and then I'm going to adhere them to the little spiders as well. And it's just like that finishing touch, you know? And it's like, yes, it's exactly what they needed. So adhered those. And then I'm going to go directly into my bonus cards. And then I'll show like close-ups and stuff of these at the end like I always do. So got those adhered into place. And then, yeah, while I was doing all my die cuts of all of these, I had die cut pieces using the spiderweb border die set. It's really cute. I was originally going to use this as my background for these cards and then changed my mind and did the ink blending and the stencil instead. So I had all these die cut pieces and I'm like, well, I'm not going to like not use them. So instead I was like, well, I might as well just make a couple of slightly much more simpler cards. These cards are really easy. I just took the borders and adhered them to A2 card fronts. And again, I had a bunch of them, so I didn't have to do 2 cards easily. So I just lined them all up and adhered them to the card fronts. These are top folding A2 white note cards. And after I got them adhered, flipped the card over, trimmed off the bits hanging over the edges, did that to both cards, stuck the cards into my splat box because of course we're going to add splatter to these as well. Same thing, black soot distress paint, added that to my little palette, used my little fan brush, heavily splattered both of these card fronts with the black soot distress paint, just like so, and then washed off my brush, wiped off my palette, let the splatter dry. Just those are the rules. That's how it works. So as that was drying, I die cut sentiments. This is the Spooky Wishes shadow die set. I didn't use the shadow part. I just used the words. And I die cut it from black cardstock as well as black glitter cardstock. And it helps if you adhere the same word to the same word. Follow me for more life-changing tips. This die set came out, I'm not even sure when. It's an oldie but goodie from Pretty Pink Posh. And yeah, I only did 2 layers, just the black cardstock and then the glitter cardstock. I decided not to amp it up because again, I was keeping these a little simple after going, everything but the kitchen sink with the first 2. So I just adhered the 2 layers together to give them that little extra something. And then on the insides of these cards, all those pieces I cut off from the front I had saved, and I'm just going to adhere them down the side on the insides of the cards in the same order that I adhered them on the outside. So once I get all these adhered, same thing, I'm going to flip the card base over and just trim off that little bit left over. And then I'm going to stamp the Happy Halloween sentiment from that same Upright Greetings set. So I'm going to just stamp that along the sides of these little webs. And then I did the same thing to the second card. And then I'm going to adhere my sentiments into place with craft tacky glue. And then the dot to the eye, I saved them. I managed to not lose them. Doesn't happen very often. These things like to, just jump off and land on the floor and you'll never see them again because they're tiny. A way to skip that though is just use a little gem, a little pearl, and just skip dealing with the little die cuts. That works too. This little tiny spider wafer die is from the spiderweb border die set. It's got this little tiny spider die. And I stuck those into place and then I just added eyes with just a white gel pen. it just makes them look cute, you know, so it doesn't look like the card's like infested. So added the little white gel pen eyes, and that finished those cards off. So here are all the cards I made for this video. So I've got just die cuts and vellum and texture paste and splatter and googly eyes, and these were fun. These were a lot of fun. And I made this color combo work, shockingly. I'm kind of surprised because this is not something I normally would do, but it was fun. So got that one, and then this one with the mug and all my little creepy crawlies and the little ghosties, and yeah, that black glitter cardstock is lovely. I'll have links to all the things that I used, like always, in the description box below the video. And then yeah, my two little bonus cards that are basically clean and simple, especially compared to the other two. But these were fun too, with their little tiny spiders. So yeah, like I mentioned in the intro, I'll have links to all the things in the description box below the video, as well as a link to like my blog post, my social medias, all of that. So if you just expand the description box, it's all there for anyone who is interested. In the blog post, it's picture links to everything, so it's a little easier to navigate. So if you want to head over there, that is one of the top links below the video as well. And yeah, thanks for hanging out with me during this video, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in supporting me over on Patreon, the link to that is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye.